Galaxies and Realms. A Wayward Claw Story. Chapter 2. Gambling with Fate. 5 years earlier, a forgotten alley on Elysium Prime. Bo awoke to the sound of dripping water and the distant hum of neon signs. The alley was damp and smelled of oil, trash, and stale liquor. Her body ached, though she wasn't sure why. Her thoughts were a jumble of half-formed memories, fragments that refused to piece together. Who am I? She looked down at herself. Pause. Fur. A tail flicked in front of her vision. I'm a cat. No, that didn't feel right. Something deeper within her stirred, a knowledge she couldn't grasp, a form she couldn't quite remember. The only thing she knew for certain was that she didn't belong here. A neon light flickered above her, drawing her attention to the entrance of a nearby bar. Its sign was simple and direct. No pets. Bo's ears flattened. A strange irritation prickled at her, something instinctual that told her she was not a pet. She didn't know what she was, but she knew that. She stretched, her body shivering as a wave of heat rolled through her. The alley around her seemed to warp for a moment, and then she stood on 2 feet. The fur receded, limbs lengthened, bones shifted. In a matter of seconds, the Calico cat had transformed into a humanoid woman. Her olive-toned skin was covered in the grime of the alley, and her long, wavy dark brown hair was tangled and damp. She shivered, the cold air biting at her now exposed body. A discarded coat lay crumpled by a nearby dumpster. Without hesitation, she grabbed it, shaking off the worst of the filth before wrapping it around herself. It was too big, but it would do. With one last glance at the alley, at the place where she had woken up without a past, she squared her shoulders and stepped into the bar. The inside of the bar was dimly lit and smelled of sweat, cheap alcohol, and desperation. A handful of people sat slumped over drinks at the bar, but the real action was happening in the far corner, where a group of men gathered around a poker table. The clink of credits and the murmurs of a heated game filled the air. Bo's stomach twisted with hunger. She had no money, no identification, nothing but the coat on her back and the strange certainty that she was good at something. But she had an idea and a faint memory that made her feel like it as a good one. A sleazy-looking man with yellowed teeth and a greasy mustache grinned at her as she approached. "You lost, sweetheart." Bo met his gaze with cool detachment. "I want to play." The men at the table exchanged amused looks. Another one, a large brute with tattoos crawling up his neck, chuckled. "And what exactly are you betting?" Bo frowned. "What do you mean?" The greasy man leaned forward. "No money, no chips, no seat. Unless you've got something else to wager." His grin widened, eyes dragging over her form. A flicker of something burned inside Bo, disgust, but also an understanding of the kind of place this was. She sat down. "Deal the cards." The men laughed, expecting an easy win. They didn't know who they were dealing with. The game began, and Bo played cautiously at first, reading her opponents, studying their tells. It came naturally, making her more confident. 1 hand in, and she had enough credits for a meal. 2 hands in, and she was drawing attention. 3 hands in, and the men who had laughed at her were starting to sweat. By the end of the night, Bo had wiped the table clean. She had a pile of credits in front of her and, more importantly, a set of keys to a ship, a battered but space-worthy vessel. The greasy man slammed his fists on the table. "You cheated." Bo leaned back, tossing a chip in the air. "You just don't know how to lose." Before the situation could escalate further, the bar's entrance burst open. The authority. Nasty and corrupt police. Gunfire erupted as officers flooded the room, shouting orders, knocking over tables. The poker players scattered, shoving credits into their pockets as they made for the exits. Bo didn't hesitate. She bolted for the back door, shoving through the chaos. As soon as she hit the alley, she dropped to all fours, shifting mid-stride. By the time the officers pushed through the exit, all they saw was a calico cat darting through the shadows, disappearing into the night. Her new ship, and her new life, awaited. Present day. The alarm still blared through the fortress as Koalel warlords and their mercenaries flooded the halls, weapons drawn. The vault was a kill box, and if they didn't move fast, they were dead. Nova slapped the control panel, sealing the inner door behind them. "We've got 30 seconds before they override that," she shouted. Declan grinned, his rifle humming with charged energy. More than enough time for a fight. Kai grabbed the artifact, a pulsing obsidian orb, before drawing his pistol. "This better be worth it," he muttered. Reese, their second-in-command, took point. "We cut through them and get back to the ship. No detours." And then there was Bo. The little calico cat sat calmly in Reese's arms, watching the chaos with eerie stillness. The artifact pulsed in Kai's grip, its strange energy filling the air with an unnatural hum. A distant memory scratched at the back of Bo's mind. Something about this energy was familiar. "I know this power, but from where?" The doors burst open, and mercenaries poured in. Declan fired first, his rifle kicking against his shoulder as plasma rounds tore through the first wave of enemies. Kai dropped behind cover, taking out a soldier with a precise headshot. Nova threw a homemade shock grenade, sending a surge of electricity crackling through the corridor. Reese charged forward, blades flashing, carving a path through the chaos. Bo leapt from her arms, hitting the ground mid-shift. Her body elongated, morphing into her true form. She landed gracefully, now a tall woman with olive skin and fierce emerald eyes. The sudden transformation stunned the enemy soldiers for a split second, just long enough for Bo to tear through them. She moved with inhuman speed, her strikes precise and brutal. A Coal soldier lunged at her, but Bo caught his wrist, twisting it until bone snapped. Another aimed his rifle. Bo was already behind him, driving an elbow into his throat. The crew fought like hell, cutting down anyone in their way. With a final push, they reached the hangar. The Wayward Claw was waiting, engines humming. Kai sprinted up the ramp first, tossing the artifact inside. Nova followed, panting. Declan covered their retreat, laying down suppressive fire. Reese grabbed Bo's arm. "You coming?" Bo hesitated for just a second, staring back at the fortress. The energy from the orb still pulsed inside her, something deep, something forgotten. Then she shoved the thought aside and ran. As the crew dove aboard, the ship lifted off, blasters firing, the ramp ceiling shut behind them. They had escaped. But Bo knew the past wasn't done with her yet. And neither was the artifact.